This is Get Real and Heal for Type A women executives and entrepreneurs, where we discuss all things emotional healing and the relationships with yourself, your man, and your money. I'm your host, Jamila McMallow, wife, mother, certified cognitive behavioral therapy practitioner, mindset and relationship expert with over 20 years coaching and mentoring experience. I know that when you're the one that everyone else leans on, the leader and the trailblazer, it can be difficult to let your guard down, be vulnerable, and tend to your own emotions. So I hope today's discussion will allow you a moment to experience a life-changing realization, perhaps even a transformation. So let's begin and get real and heal. Well, hello. So today's topic is on reinventing your love life after divorce. And I think for those of us who are type A, high performers, high achieving women, when we go through a divorce, it can be just a huge blow to our confidence. It can really make us feel like a failure. And you know that type A women, we do not embrace failure. We take that very, very hard. And so I want to tell you a little bit about how I, reinvented my love life after a 14-year toxic marriage that was riddled with infidelity, lying, abuse. And, the fact is, after that marriage ended in a painful divorce, I gave myself time to grieve. I took the time to grieve the loss of that relationship, the loss of the life that I had, and really the future, that I had envisioned. Then I turned my attention inward. And this is the part that I think so many women miss after divorce, is I turned my attention inward and I really focused on myself, because I knew that even though, nothing I ever did in that marriage was a deal breaker, I hadn't been a perfect wife. And there were definitely behaviors, rooted in childhood trauma that I needed to change, and how I was showing up in relationships, period, right? I think so often sometimes when we go through divorces, we can put the attention on our ex, and how we were wronged and everything that was wrong with him. So many women love to throw around this term, oh, he was a narcissist. And I hate that term because I think it's stupid. I'm like, who cares? Who wants to waste time trying to diagnose and psychologize a person who you didn't have a clue about who he was showing himself to be? He was showing you who he was. You just chose not to see it. See, that's the part that we have to own, right? The red flags are there. Our guts tell us even before we get married, and we ignore it. And so that's the part that we have to own, okay? Is we have to own that we chose this person. We have to own that we made some mistakes, and we have to forgive ourselves for it. And then as we go through this process of healing, I know myself, a part of that phase is the bitterness and anger phase. And a lot of women get stuck here. And it sounds like, I don't need no man, and, marriage ain't for me, and blah, blah, blah. No, honey, no. Okay. You're stuck. You're not done with your healing. And so you have to keep moving through that, because you're not going to not only not succeed in a new relationship, but you're not going to be happy when you're carrying around all that negativity and heaviness, emotionally. You got to let that, and I hate to say that phrase, let it go, because I don't like that phrase either, because it really doesn't make sense. We don't just let things go. We have to do deliberate and intentional things to work through our feelings, primarily acknowledging them and allowing ourselves to process them. But for myself, I know I made it through that bitterness and anger phase. I too said, I'll just be single. I don't, blah, blah, blah. But I made it through that, right? And I realized, hey, I actually do want to be married again. Okay. But I knew that I had never experienced a happy, healthy marriage. So I really had to learn what that looked like and then how to function in one. Okay. So many of us talk about how we want a good man, how we want a healthy relationship, but we didn't see that modeled for us by our parents. We didn't experience that in our marriage or marriages, if we've been married more than once. And so somehow we think that we're going to magically understand what that's supposed to look like and how we're supposed to be. No, no, no. Those are things that have to be learned. And so I acknowledged that. And I took that time to get clear on that, and then to learn how I needed to behave. What were the healthy relationship behaviors that I needed to, manifest and display in being in a relationship, with a normal, healthy man. It's crazy. We think sometimes that we just need a good man and all of a sudden that's going to fix our problems. No, we are part of the equation. And so if we are showing up with all of our baggage, all of our insecurities, all of our fears, all of our hurts, all of our pain, we're not coming to the relationship bringing what's healthy and what's going to support that relationship being happy. So we have to figure that stuff out first, before we even, number one, are able to attract that type of relationship, let alone knowing how to be in one, So that kind of leads me to the next step that I took, right? So after I, acknowledged, okay, I want to be in a happy, healthy relationship. I need to figure out what that is for me and what that means for how I behave and how I show up. The next thing I did was I got clear on what I wanted in a husband. Okay. So many of us women, we know what we don't want, but we don't know what we do want. And I'm not talking about a bunch of superficial mess, but rather the type of character and qualities, this man would need to possess in order to bring out the best. For me, I wanted someone that was going to bring out the best in me. And I wrote it all down. If it's in your head, or if you're just talking out into the air, that's what I say, you're just talking out into the air, it doesn't mean anything. It's not real. You need to write it down, because that's how you're going to be able to get clear on it. And I know for me, once I created this list, which by the way was ongoing, it wasn't exhaustive, I prayed constantly. I took it to God. And so ultimately I did receive the husband and the marriage and relationship that I desired. So of course I ultimately give the credit to God. However, I didn't just pray and sit back and do nothing. Did you pick up what I just laid down in my story? Did you catch the steps that I took to position myself to be ready to receive my blessing of a wonderful husband? Like I said, and I did receive a wonderful husband. And that's because, I asked, I kept knocking, I kept seeking, and I did the things that I needed to do to be prepared and ready to receive that blessing. I never went to therapy. Okay. I was coached. I was supported and guided by holistic practitioners and spiritually mature women. Traditional talk therapy is not for everyone. It is not the only route to emotional healing. It is not the only route to working through your trauma. It simply is not. It was not the route for me. I tried it. I didn't like it. And so that's not something that I personally utilize. And it's not something that my clients who come to me, have ever found success in, which is why they've come to me. But my point is that I invested time, energy, and money into my personal development and healing. Okay. So if you, right now have been through that divorce, you feel like you've done your healing, but you feel like you can't find men that are on your level. Well, it's because you haven't healed the childhood trauma that is directly responsible for who you are continuing to attract. So you may feel like you've done your healing work, like you've moved through your divorce, but you're just not able to find good men. Well, the fact is who we attract isn't based on what's available in the market. It has to do with us and what we're magnetizing. So if you haven't directly healed that childhood trauma that's responsible for who you're attracting, then the truth is you're actually missing opportunities with good men because you're stuck in a pattern of attracting the wrong ones, getting hurt and then feeling angry and bitter at all men, I took 100% responsibility for who I had been attracted to and why. My first husband, I took responsibility for that. Like I said, I owned it. And I put my energy there to make sure that I never attracted another man like that again. So I took responsibility for who I had attracted figured out why and did the work so that I would never be drawn to a person like that again. See, there's nothing wrong with the arrangement of marriage. It's just that I had to own the fact that I had chosen poorly the first time, and then I had to forgive myself. So if you want to be married to a good man, you're going to have to take radical responsibility for who you're attracting and then how you're showing up in relationships. You got to own it. You can't blame nobody else. No victim mentality. Okay? And once you own it, then you're going to have to take deliberate, intentional action to heal and become the version of yourself that knows how to be in a happy, healthy relationship with a good man. You know, and most importantly, you've got to believe that the possibility exists for you. I did my healing. I got clear on what I wanted. I had absolute certainty that I would be blessed with an amazing husband, and I was. The same can absolutely be true for you. With all of the love you are truly worthy and deserving of. I hope that this message lands with you, and this is what I've got for you today. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Be sure to visit CoachJamila.com, where you'll find the links to connect with me on social media and more information on my private bespoke coaching for Type A high-performing women executives and entrepreneurs.